Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I'm going to talk about Malignant. And this is a winner of the Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. And this was selected by Midi Samosa. I didn't get to review this movie last year because my son had just been born, and there was just too much going on, and I didn't think I could get it done in time, so now I'm reviewing it over a year later, I guess. So maybe that wasn't... Anyway, I did actually watch it, though. And I will say there's kind of two ways to watch this movie. And I'm more than happy to watch it again because I really like it. It's kind of the first time you see it, and then probably all the other times you see it. I'm not going to get into spoilers because I really think the first time you watch it should be really cool and crazy. And I don't know if me describing it would make any sense or even get anywhere close to how insane this movie can be. So I'm not going to do that, but I am going to say it is a different experience seeing it the second time. It still holds up if you've watched it and you're like, that doesn't hold up. It really does. And I think James Wan is an interesting director because he went from directing the first Saw movie, he directed the first Conjuring film, the first Insidious movie, the Aquaman movie, Fast 7, and he's basically built up a lot of goodwill in Hollywood, particularly with Warner Brothers. And this is sort of his auteur, I can do whatever I want sort of horror movie. And I've never seen a director cash in that check to such an insane kind of horror film that is also really entertaining. Like, this is a weird, crazy kind of cult movie, but directed by a guy who's like, yeah, but I still, make movies for big blockbuster audiences, and that's what I do, and that's what I'm going to do. His direction is maybe one of the most interesting things in it. Like, that he chose to do this. This is something he wrote, or he came up with the story by. It was actually written by Akila Cooper, who does a great job, by the way, in the script. Although the story was by Ingrid Blue and Akila Cooper, as well as the actress Annabelle Wallis, who gives an amazing performance. But there's a sort of thing in, if you've ever seen North by Northwest, this has been said about Jurassic Park as well, and even David Fincher when he got into like Girl with Dragon Tattoo and Gone Girl, it's like they're basically directors who are intentionally doing their own style. Like they're not kind of organically doing their style. You can tell they purposely are, like, he's purposely making a Steven Spielberg movie. He's using all those tropes on purpose. North by Northwest sort of satirizes it, but Hitchcock is technically making, like, I know how to make a Hitchcock movie, and I know what the things you want and everything like that. And David Fincher was a bit, the same thing, basically. Like, he made David Fincher's Girls Dragon Tattoo. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he did it, like, to a T and all that stuff. Sometimes people aren't as excited by this because it's not, like, cool, fun, younger director kind of stuff. It's like, I know what I'm doing. I'm very confident in myself. I think that's true of James Wan in this. I think the difference is, I think he wanted to fuck with that, but also use it at the same time. Like, it's probably close to what Hitchcock did in North by Northwest, because he's like, well, you know me, you know I can make a good horror movie, and you know I can make an entertaining one, but I'm also going to make it crazy as all fucking hell, and you can't stop me, basically, and I'm talented enough that I'm going to make this work. And there's such a confidence and a kind of like, I don't fucking know, we're making this weird shit right now, and we're going to go with it. And it sort of reminds me of what James Wan has become. He's like this horror guy, and he makes, like, Conjuring is a horror movie made for a big audience, which is interesting because not many horror directors, like, I think Barbarian does that, and there's certain films that are very good recently, which I also need to review at some point. A lot more horror is, like, being made to watch as an audience, but no one is as good as James Wan. But if you look at something like Aquaman, where it did feel like he was just being as insane as humanly possible, you don't really get that in horror, which this was like $40 million, which is still kind of expensive for the horror movie it is, but he's still, like, throwing everything, kind of all these crazy ideas. I don't know if any of this truly is realistic in any fashion. I seriously could give less of a fuck if it does, because it is so entertaining and so insane. And even watching it the second time, I was like, ooh, this part's coming up. Like, this is the this is the crazy part. Oh, there's another like, I rewatched parts of the ending because I felt like I really needed to sink my teeth into them again. Like, it's just infectious in what it's doing. I really liked it. The basic plot is there's this woman who's sort of being haunted by voices and things, a killer's coming after her, and that's kind of all I'll say. I think you get a director who wants to have fun with the status they have. And I would be happy with James Wan, basically, instead of, like Chris Nolan make like a Batman movie and then do like Inception or The Prestige or whatever. I would be cool if James Wan, between Aquaman movies, just like this is his auteur statement. Is this, if his auteur statements are like this fun and as crazy as they are, like this is such an audience movie. It is insane, but it is fucking so entertaining. It's remarkable. Annabelle Wallis gives a really great performance in this. I don't know why she's not cast in more stuff. She's extremely talented throughout this entire film. Most of these are unknowns, which I found kind of interesting, that he did, like, there's no real big stars in this movie whatsoever. Some of the kills and like the idea that the psychic link and all that stuff between her and the killer are done very excellently well. Shot very clearly. Like, I really like the cinematography of this by Michael Burgess. It's probably one of the most radical studio films I've seen in a while in terms of a horror film, particularly like something like Barbarian, or Barbarian's like this year's Malignant in a lot of ways, but I think Malignant still its own original crazy ass self. It sort of reminded me of things like The Sentinel in certain ways, at least in terms of directing, 70s horror film. But I do think when we look back at this age of horror, this is one of the clear standout films. It is just, you really like, oh my god, like when you really see like what's going on, I think you're just like, what the fuck? Like, as soon as you think you know, I don't know, it's just like James Wan did it in so many great ways, like even like setting up how it's all going, and when you see it's all setting up and you see the blocks going the second time, you see the construction of the whole thing, it just makes it go like, wow, he really like, they really knew exactly the kind of crazy story they were telling. Like, this is not a hard film to get into, but then when you get to certain parts, you're like, okay, what the fuck, man? Like, what is going on here? It's astonishing that a film that is definitely directed by someone who, even if you didn't know he directed Aquaman, you can tell could direct a superhero movie, and yet does this much crazy things, and it feels sort of like an unreal dimension I got to just like step into for a little bit and see what was going on, and I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. Like, I think this will definitely go down as one of his best movies, James Wan, which I don't just mean to say lightly or anything. It's definitely one of his best directed, and it's definitely one you can tell that he absolutely adores, and adores that he gets to do this. It's just, whoa, I really like this. You should always have the experience of seeing this. It is a truly like big cinephile deep thing. I don't know if there is any good or anything you can say if you revealed the twist, to be honest with you, because I think this movie, if anything, is an experience. It's an experience of itself, and taking that away from it and even talking about it is like, it's just like, I don't know. I think a lot of this review is just me going like, whoa, and watching again, I was like, it is just as powerful watching it a year later, and part of me is like, I can't wait to watch this 5 years from now or 10 years from now. I think it really has a strong power, and definitely can hold you in an audience, because you're just like what the fuck is going on, and you're still like, and then later you're like, oh, this is the part, man, this is the part, and it's still like surprised me in what it's doing, even though I knew what the moves were going to be, which I think it like makes it even more just insane. This movie's just like insane. I don't know what James Wan's been on. Maybe like all the craziness of the 7th Fast and Furious movies. Like, you know what, man, I just need to go balls to the wall with everything else. And he certainly has. Both this and Aquaman, you're just like, what is going on? What is this shit? And I don't know if I'd like ever really want to watch Aquaman again. But this I have watched again, because it's the second time reviewing it. Whereas the second time when I reviewed it, and I just think it is such a enjoyable film. Like, it wants you to keep getting into it through its twists and turns. It wants you to be excited. It wants you to go, what the fuck is this shit? And I can't think of a film that wants to lead you down the mystery, and it feels like a good airport read, but you can tell it's done by a master who knows exactly how to twist you through that story. And without him, and without the amazing performance by Annabelle Wallis, the great cinematography by Michael Burgess, with all these things together, it feels like the Hollywood studio team all working together to make the best possible movie they can, but instead of, a big musical or an Oscar movie or something like that, it's, a crazy funky ass horror film directed for a popcorn audience. And in some ways that feels almost too radical to exist, but you're just kind of like with Malignant, whether you're ready for what it brings you or not, and that just makes it such an enjoyable film for me. I might be gushing a little bit, but I don't think there's much more to say than just like, holy shit, you're not going to get this thing out of your head, for sure. So if you've seen Malignant and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. And this is a winner of the Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month.